current status of 4 projects that are underway. Reducing groundwater in Hamiltonian Park, acceptance of the Heritage Estates infrastructure, acceptance of the Woodland Estates infrastructure, and repairing of the highway garage. And I've asked Sean, he's an engineer with following this from H2M Engineering, if he would kind of go through these, and we can ask him questions from the board as to if you have it, okay? So Sean?
Thanks, Doug. Good evening, everybody. I had issued a memorandum this afternoon that goes through all of these in a little bit more detail. I'll summarize them and care for each one. If anybody has any questions on any one particular, feel free to stop me and I'll be happy to answer them. On the Hamiltonian Park Water District, in response to groundwater complaints, we made an application to the Department of Health back in August for introduction of polyphosphate, which we've discussed. I followed up with the department yesterday. Steve Gagnon, the head department, indicated that we should have a response within 3 to 4 weeks. I've asked them to expedite the review because of the complaints that the town has received. I'm not sure if that 3 to 4 weeks is the expedited response, but perhaps, Doug, if you were to call over there and maybe speak to Steve, I know you have a relationship with him, maybe he can do something better than 3 to 4 weeks.
I'll do that.
Thank you. On the highway garage, temporary shoring. So you recall last time we spoke, we were working out the details of the shoring. Structurally, the structure was built in 1966, and from a structural standpoint, it's fairly complex, and the building is very large. So the shoring that needs to compensate for the wall, relieve the pressure on the wall, is large and it is expensive. We received a verbal quotation from TAM today for $88,000. And after TAM installs a temporary shoring at that point, then I think we would go out to bid for a permanent repair. Either removal of the masonry wall and the repair of the cracking and identification of any items in the wall that may need to be further strengthened.
If I can bring up at this time, you know, Tokyo Marine HCC is the insurance company. And back in September 29, 2020, they paid us $77,000, $473.77. But in the letter, they said, if your contractor finds out additional damages while the work is being completed, and you would like us to consider these additional repairs as part of the loss, please have your contractor contact us immediately. So I guess for the public, this is temporary shoring we're putting in, not the permanent. Don't know what that's going to cost, but we've got $77,000, or just talking $88,000 we're putting in the temporary stuff. So I'm going to give this to George. He's our commissioner of insurance, and let him work with whoever he's got to do to see if we get more money.
That's great.
Okay, thank you.
Just so the board is aware, that is again a verbal quotation or verbal proposal. I'm still waiting for a written proposal from TAM, so I don't have anything yet that you can forward to your carrier, but I expect to get something soon.
I'll be contacting. I'll be contacting Greg Townsend tomorrow on this issue to get the ball rolling. Hopefully we can get some more money from the insurance company.
If I can help, please let me know. Thank you. Moving on to Heritage Estates. Kelly Norton and I had a video conference with Roger Mumford on September 15th. And at that time, Mr. Mumford was unaware if the smaller punch list items were completed. And those smaller items include the posting of a 911 address label on the water treatment building, the repair and parking of a catch basin, and also obtaining a letter from the village coach to confirm that the connection to their sewer manhole on Old Chester Road was satisfactorily completed. But he did advise that the repairs to the drainage behind number 54 surrounding properties and it ties into what will be the town's collection system was still outstanding. Mr. Mumford's engineer, Petrogas and Fowl, had a meeting scheduled with the homeowner, and they were trying to address the homeowner's concerns at that time. I'm not sure if that meeting occurred or if they're proceeding. I did follow up with Mr. Mumford. He said he's still working on it. So once punch list is complete, Kelly and I have been working also to simultaneously work through all the paperwork, the easements that you need for acceptance of the roads, the easements that would be in your favor, in connection to the walls, drainage structures, and things of that nature. So the developer is very motivated to have everything completed before winter comes again and he has to plow again. He has been responsive, but some of these items, such as the drainage repair and stuff like that, it's a little bit outside of his control. Really needs the authorization of the homeowner and the property.
But now well number 6, which is on, okay, I guess you gotta get to that next.
I can. Well number 6 is still an outstanding issue. So you'll recall well number 6 was taken offline by your prior water contract operator because it had high levels of hydrogen sulfide, which made the water smell and taste warm. So that was taken offline. It was determined that to put it back online, we would need some water treatment. The developer proposed a filter, which would work, and provided us with a report. We had comments, and last November we had comments, November 12, 2020, and we adjusted all this received responses to those comments. My understanding from speaking with Mr. Mumford, he anticipates coming to you whenever these punch list items and administrative paperwork items are complete and ask you to accept the roads and return a portion of his performance bond, and then also retain another performance bond for completion of the work as well too.
When he makes that request, you're all obviously reviewing it and preparing a memo.
Absolutely, he just hasn't made that request yet.
Rick, has that ever happened before?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not uncommon to go ahead and have
Partial acceptance.
Partial acceptance, a reduction in the bond, and sometimes in order to cure some of the concerns, a new bond with respect to some remaining items, especially with respect to maintenance for a year after acceptance.
Right. Okay.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong, but I think what may happen here is it'll be segmented out, and then you'll have X amount of dollars for the well, and maybe we'll never see them again. So what I'm hoping can happen, all or nothing. He gets everything done, and then we give him the money, or if it's segmented out, I'm really not in favor of that because of past history.
Unless Rick advises you to the contrary, I think that that's within the discretion of the board, whether you want to accept everything and return his performance bond and convert to a maintenance bond, or parse it out and retain a performance bond for the well. My recommendation to you, if you do decide to express this to Mr. Mumford, if you do decide to segment out the well, would be your recent practice to accept only a cash bond for that based on an estimate that was confirmed by me.
There are sometimes an analogous situation arises in large construction projects, where state projects and other things like that, where the contractor has only a limited amount of work to do and is asking for a reduction of the retainage being held by the state to cover that amount. It's not unusual for governments to then hold twice the value of the estimate in order to what would be necessary to do that remaining work in order to sort of protect it from that problem. So that's another avenue you can explore. But Sean is absolutely right. The whole issue of reduction and new money, including cash monies, is within your discretion. But I just wanted to give you that other option that is typically used, because what happens then is that if there's twice the amount that's at stake for the contractor, then that's the incentive for them to stay around and make sure that the work gets done so they can get some money back.
Yep. That's all I want to accomplish. All the work is done.
Go ahead, Ken. We can hold up enough money to drill the well in case he does disappear.
Yeah, the reason that you're holding money
out there, so
the reason that you're holding money back,
forward, so I was going to hold it up.
The reason that you would be holding money is just for that purpose, is that if in case he walks away, there's enough money.
Yep.
And Sean would be giving you an estimate with some additional leeway in there, not just the bare amount that it would be to replace. Whatever that estimate is, you could double that. It's just an example, and hold that much, or you could hold the entire amount back. Sometimes, you know, you exercise your discretion. It may be reasonable to hold back everything, or you may feel, depending upon the amounts at issue, that that's a little bit too much if we hold back 2 times or 2.5 times, that would satisfy you and give you solace because you're trying to protect the public fisc in this regard.
Right. No, Kenny makes a good point in that you know, the people out there,
Oh, they want to accept it.
because the roads have not been dedicated and they can't get mail delivery and so on and so forth. So that's what we're weighing. We're trying to weigh helping those folks out and still making sure we get everything we need out of the developer.
Absolutely.
I'd like to read from just what George had said. Sean, let me ask you, only knowing the history that everything takes so long to do, and a lot of these things have been delayed, not on any part of the municipality, but the developer. That being said, if you have a punch list, if he put his full attention to completing that punch list, what amount of time are we looking at? If he got everyone to say, you know what, get his contractors, this needs to be done, I need to be out, it may cost them a little bit more money. What is the time limitation to get your punch list done?
Your question is excluding the work on 12.6, not including the water treatment.
Well, give us an estimate on the water treatment too. If he rushes it and he calls the contractors and says, let's get this thing done, how long will it take?
Going to answer in 2 parts.
Okay.
Not
fine.
the well, the work other than the well. It can be completed in a matter of days. The only item that's holding him up is he needs access to residential property where drainage structure is located. And that resident has some concerns, and Mr. Mumford has dispatched his engineer to go over those and review those concerns with that homeowner. And once that homeowner is satisfied, he's going to allow, I believe, Mr. Mumford to complete the punch list.
Well,
the actual work should be completed in a matter of days.
So on that one item, how long has that been on the punch list?
That has been on the punch list since that storm over the summer and that condition was realized. So
okay.
2 months, let's say.
Okay. And the well?
The well is more complicated in that whenever you make a modification to a public drinking water system, as you know from what we're talking about this evening about Hamiltonian Park and the groundwater,
right,
it has to go to the health department. It's similar to you, he can't control that schedule. So this design could go to the health department. It takes several months before he hears back. Health department could have comments, he can respond to those comments, and it could take several more months before he gets the approval. So ideally, if it was a project that you were working on, just like the water tank, we would try to get the approvals done in the winter so you can start construction in the spring. So I would say, I would at least several months, 6 to 9 months for the well, he was to start working on it in earnest currently.
And how long have we had an issue on that well?
Oh, for
Since they built the subdivision.
Right.
There's never been put online because it was contaminated
That's
water.
exactly my point.
well, I just want to
Okay, go ahead.
say one other side.
Sure.
It's not contaminated.
I mean,
It's only,
you can't use it.
it's more, it's unpleasant to drink. There's no health effects.
We're not going to use it. We're not going to use it. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, sulfur is contamination when it comes to portability. So.
And we've been dealing with that particular issue for years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, I just wanted to
We're
make
together.
sure everyone knew how long it's taking, where the incentives are on this stuff.
Okay, what's next?
Can I just weigh in for a second?
Yeah, please.
I see that some of you are guarded from us by this plexiglass and others are not. Is there a specific
Well,
reason?
these were
some
just
are
put
not?
up, I mean, they were stored over there, and evidently the last board that was in here.
It was
put
just a
them up.
joke. It's just a joke.
I think, I thought the same thing.
Well, I think you need one for him, for sure. Yeah.
Hey, look, for an old guy, where's your mask?
I got it right here, guy.
I know you're allowed to go in.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't do it. That's not so serious.
That sounds good, Rick.
And they say it's not going up and down so far tonight. That's pretty good.
The last item on my report was on states. You recall that I had met with the developer and his engineer, Dave Higgins, back in August.
Yeah.
We went through the punch list. Project owner was present, as was Neil Holland. He went through each item on the punch list. And a number of items were required to be submitted by the developer, including as-built plans, the mixed designs, the top floors, and pavement. We received some of those items, I believe, September 1st, and then we received additional items September 10th, so approximately 2 weeks ago. Right. So Kelly received them also at the same time, and we're both going through them. So it's a lot of information. I would say the next step is for the highway department to identify in the field areas that need to be repaired. There's a couple of cracks. Overall, the pavement condition is very good in the age of the road and its fine reports. But they should identify the repair areas on the pavement. They should look and inspect the drainage facilities, and there aren't many, but there's a couple of large culverts, make sure that they don't have sediment and things in those. And then the developer would do that work, and seeing as Eric, you have to go through the administrative item.
Yeah. The asphalt mills are going to shut down at the end of November. Okay. This one, I talked to one of the citizens out there. I said, these are easy items to fix. I mean, it's not like you got to get permission from that fellow at Heritage, and it's not like you got to come up with new designs for the well and all these things. These are easily fixed. My expectation is, and I shared this with the fellow out there, that they have all this done by the end of November, and then starting in December, when we accept it, then they can start getting their mail at their homes, children picked up on the road, and then we start plowing snow. I can understand why they're anxious. And so this one is, to me, is much more at hand. So keep the heat on if you would, Sean.
It's like anything else. I think if the developer was to put the effort involved in it, I think he could meet that schedule. I just don't know what type of effort I've gotten. Sometimes the developer's interest in this wanes, and I don't hear from him for several months.
Right. And we don't have a cash bond on this.
That's
to hold back. So he has no incentive other than just being a nice guy. Okay, pretty good. Rick, are you going to say something?
Just, you really can't even count on the asphalt plants being open through the end of November. It's really dependent on the weather, the temperature.
Sure.
So it could well be
that's why
the middle of November.
That's why we got to get done ASAP.
Right, no, I agree.
Sure. Okay. Yep. Good. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go to item 2. That won't take long, and then we'll come to item 3, Sean. Are you finished with that one?
I am finished. Would you like me to stay, or?
No, I want you to stay because item 3 on the agenda, we need you to weigh in on that one as well. Okay. The next one is the review and approve the minutes of the September 9th, 2021 town board meeting. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I don't have it.
All right, would someone like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So now we can go to the third item. And the third item is review an updated approach to support the demolition of the Salesian School building.
But before you go, Sean, quick question. I heard they're having problem finding the main water supply up in
They found it.
Has it been found?
Yes, they found it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. They found that really. Okay. Well, then you didn't ask. Okay. Anyway, the next one is review updated approach to support the demolition of the Salesian School building. I want to go back a little bit in history on this, because there are a lot of people who there's different ideas of what's going on. I think it was back in 2004. The village was talking about buying it. I think they put some money down to the county to buy it. And they couldn't pull it off. So Honey Bernstein said, she came to the rescue. For the people in the audience, we have what they call Fund A. Fund A is where we can tax everybody in the town, village and the town. Okay. And for that particular, for example, this building, the town hall and the highway department and the assessing group are all Fund A. And so people get taxed accordingly. People in the village and the town to support those things. So what Ms. Supervisor Bernstein did was, is she said, okay, we will buy the building, fun day. And she did. And the village paid, by the way, and all the citizens were equal in paying for that building. And the village paid half the closing costs. Okay? But now people think in the village, well, we don't own it, the town owns it. No, but we all own it. So I put that out there. Okay. The town has been very protective of borrowing money. When we got here in 2006, there were 9 separate debts. And it was well over $4.5 million, I guess we owed. And they had to be paid off simultaneously. And as the year progressed in 2006, we saw that we were going nowhere fast. We had to have a 25% increase in taxation in 2007, just to keep the people, to pay the power bills and things like that. 25% increase in taxes. So I say that because one of the things that we said we would do, we're not going to borrow money, and we're going to focus on paying off money. And we would say, we're going to pay as we go or we don't go. And so we've been living by that standard for 16 years. And it's worked very well, very well. We've increased our savings or, and whatnot. We've given, I think it's 8 of the last 9 years, we've had a decrease in taxes because of the big things we spent money on in terms of the loans. And so, oh, and one last thing, this is a humdinger. No, this is a humdamdinger. Okay. A tax certiorari is a dispute by the landowner with the town, and it's adjudicated by a judge most of the time. We can settle them out of court, but most of the time it's with a judge. When we got here in 2006, the town had 300 tax certiorari's. Normally you have 10. We had 300. And what happened was the Altury landfill was not given a renewable license in 1992 to continue operation. It closed down. The assessor upstairs, the town of Goshen, continued to assess them and collect taxes. So taxes were collected from 92 to 2006, and they were shut down. And what happened? They didn't pay the taxes, but the county forwarded the taxes to us. So we were hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hole. And Phil and I worked on this one early on. We had to spend $1.5 million just to get rid of that one problem. So when I say I'm skeptical when I hear about, oh, let's borrow money and take care of that, I cringe. I cringe. In this case, Phil has come to me and said, Doug, and he's done all the, and I have to thank Phil. He's gone to Quest, he's gone to Sean, this and that, to find out what it's going to cost to take it down. And we all want to take it down. And the village said, no, we don't own it, or we don't have the money, or whatever it is. Okay. So Phil and I have met with our budget office. Fund A, just like we bought it with, we can use Fund A to take it down. Okay. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Phil, because Phil's the guy who's done all the background work. But safety is the issue. It's not aesthetics of the building. It looks like hell, but it's dangerous too. So Phil has convinced me we need to take it down. And as Mr. Troy concurs with that, it needs to come down. Okay. And we want to do it in cold. Well, I'm going to not take the thunder away from Phil.
He already did.
Go for it, guy.
He already did. So let's
Mess
see.
was on.
Now, what I did is I just prepared a very, very brief overview just to review some of the things that we had already discussed to bring everybody up to date. And so these are just flying very, very high, and they're just bullet points to bring us to where we're going to go. So back in August 25th, I had called Sean and said, Sean, we need to go back in on this Salesian thing. Would you mind calling Quest or whatever, and let's start the ball rolling on this thing. This is August 25th of 2020. So when we talked to Rick about insurance, so we could go in and inspect the building and make sure that we weren't putting ourselves in any liability. So my initial discussion, I called Mike Guzzles, rest his soul, and asked if he would agree to help us go in the building, be able to inspect the premises to see where we stand and what it's going to take, because the building just continuously deteriorates. So an inspection hadn't been done. The last one was 2012. So we were talking about 8 or 9 years already. And at that particular point, it was a hazard. It was a very dangerous building. And it was time to get going. Well, on the at the end of September 2020, Larry Holtzfeld, the CEO of Quest, went in with an engineer and did a very detailed inspection of the building. He said he would send us some estimates and results of what we found. So we received the estimates at the end of October. And basically, it came back with 2 options. And the first option was to do an abatement and demolition. And but to do that, it involves sending engineers into the building first to see how much scaffolding and how much building we would have to do to shore up the inside of the building so we could get to the top floor and remove the asbestos. That was an unknown cost. So the other option was just to declare this demolition as hazardous material and just take the whole building down as hazardous material. And when we had a joint meeting around, I think it was near the end of December with the village and the town, I went over all the options, the costs and everything. And we really had a consensus that we would take down the whole building rather than the abatement and then the demolition and the building scaffold inside. So they said that they would go discuss it with their board and then come back to us and tell us what they thought of. We were already on board, our town board. We were ready to go. So in the middle of January, I talked to Mike, and the board had not really come to any consensus on how we were going to do this. They were concerned about finance. Mike said to me, we don't have any money. And I'm like, okay, well, how about if I help detail and do the details and arrange financing for us and see if we could get it done that way with the 2 municipalities. Well, that wasn't too palatable. It wasn't too palatable to pay. It wasn't really that palatable to finance. So we were like at an impasse. I said, all right, well, tell us what your board wants to do. In May, I think Bill had talked to, Bill Troy had talked to Peter Smith at that point, was the village attorney. And I'm not sure of the actual conversation, but it seemed to revolve around the fact that the village was only liable for a maximum of $10,000 for the running of whatever expense they had to pay. They were limited to $10,000. So at this point, I'll just take a second and refer you to our intermunicipal agreement. And the first thing I'll cover is what Doug had indicated, and it says, whereas in order to avoid double taxation to the village residents that would be associated with splitting the purchase price between the village and the town, due to the fact that the town, in order to purchase the land for park purposes, must tax all the tax-paying residents of the town, including the village. The purchase of the property shall be responsible for the town. So therefore, and he talked about, we split the closing costs, and our intermunicipal agreement says that we would both be responsible. And I make reference to that because it was purchased through Fund A, which is taxation of both the town and the village equally, so everyone would pay their share. By the way, our Fund A, so far, well, we'll talk about that. And now, another portion of this says, although the title to the property will be in the name of the town and village shall exercise joint control over the ultimate use, development, maintenance, and operation of the project. Joint. So in our municipal agreement, this was a 50-50 deal. So I'm not sure where the rest of that came up, but I just wanted to draw your attention to that. So now we'll move on to the next thing, and I'm almost done. So we've been working with our controller, Christine, and there's where Doug chimed in and kind of gave you the insight as to what we were doing, going to Fund A, but this is how it can be broken down. First of all, the town-wide financing through Fund A, which is so both the town and the village can pay equally. What we can do, or what we're thinking of doing, is taking a band. That's a bond anticipation rather than a bond, which is for a described period. And the band we can take for up to 5 years. That's renewable every year. So whatever we take the band out for the whole project, we can budget 50%, 60%, whatever we want for the first year's payment, or 30%. We can do every year, we can take out a new band for the unpaid balance every year. I'm thinking we could probably get this thing done within 2 years. Right? At least that's what we talk about with Fund A. Once we do this, it should take no more than 60 days to do all the work and get everything done with this band and get the money. So I think we're on our way. I mean, we're really, I think we've got the financing done, we've got the estimates. And it was very important at that time because rates were extremely low when we had that joint meeting with the village. And a lot of people were out of work because of COVID. So it was very competitive. I don't think we're going to have that competitive edge, but the rates are still around 1%, give or take 0.5%, which is really ridiculously low. So I think we really need to pull the trigger on this thing and go full bore, only because this is a hazardous, dangerous situation, and every day it just gets worse. So I'm going to ask Sean to start writing up the bid process. And I had a meeting with Rick to look at all the legal ramifications and see if we could bring the village in the loop so that they would weigh in as to how they're feeling and what's going on. But we've done all the preliminary work. We have this whole runway all paved. Now, Rick, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little insight as to your conversations that we discussed.
Sure. Before I do that, just as a clarification, okay. More for the public, everybody on the board obviously knows this. But when you said that it was going to be, the cost of it was going to be funded equally through Fund A between the town and the village. Right. Is that, yeah. It's not that the village itself is going to cough up any money. It would be the payment of that bond right. through Fund A, which is through real property taxation of both villages. I thought I made that clear by the intermunicipal agreement. That's how we bought the property. That's right. And that's how we're going to take this building down. So I had a Phil asked me to contact the village attorney, Dave Donovan, with the proposal that Phil just aptly described, and to see whether or not he had any legal objections to the way that it's anticipated to be going at this point in time. And he said absolutely not, that he anticipated that that's the best way to approach this thing, and that he sees no objection whatsoever. I discussed with him specifically that the town, in the course of this, would be asking the village, pursuant to state law, to be exempt as a purely municipal project, to be exempt from local zoning and permitting, so as to avoid the red tape, although having both the village and the town building inspectors oversee the project so that its safety would be guaranteed and acceptable to both the village and the town. And he said he was fine with that, and so no objection to that whatsoever. And he knows that under the intermunicipal agreement, both the village and the town have to approve of anything. And so he would, he anticipates that a resolution would be passed by the village board with respect to that approval process.
In the municipal agreement, it says they could not unreasonably withhold approval, but we're all on the same page.
That's as to,
anyway.
That's as to projects that are included within the comprehensive plan for the Salesian agreement. I have never seen that comprehensive plan, even though supposedly it was drafted. But even outside of the comprehensive plan, anything that has to be done there has to have the approval. I don't foresee, nor did Dave Donovan foresee that the village would object to.
No, I talked to the mayor. He said, no, it's you know, you can't speak for them because they weren't there, but he didn't see there was any problem with this thing.
I think everyone's on board with taking it down. So.
But when Phil and I talked, we were talking about moving Ron right away on this, work with Sean to get the bids and so forth, or it's going to cost more than it would back when, we think. Instead of being 900,000, it's probably 1.3 million or whatever. The other thing that we would like to do is we'd like to get this thing down in February or March in cold weather, when you don't have all those people over in the park walking their dogs and doing all that. And Sean, I don't know if that's possible or not, but they don't want to do it in hot weather when there's a lot of people outside over there, just for safety reasons. So that's the goal that we've talked about. If that's realistic, we'll go for it. You know, so.
The only other thing, and I briefly discussed this, is that it may make sense for the town board to authorize our office to prepare a resolution for your next meeting, which would set forth everything you've discussed tonight, and thereby giving that approval for this project, asking Sean to go ahead and begin the preparation of the competitive bidding specs, and also requesting the village to go ahead and approve and to exempt the project from the local zoning and permitting process.
Would they prepare a resolution also?
They would then prepare, we would be requesting them to prepare a resolution authorizing it. That's all we would be asking, and also the exemption from the zoning. And then once they bring it up, they would be asking Dave to go ahead and authorize it.
Make the motion based on what you just said. So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Go, please. Yes.
Bill Troy from Town Goshen. I just wanted to thank the board. This has been a long process. I feel very strongly in terms of my involvement in the library and the beautiful park, and I'm very happy with the resolution. In particular, Bill, thanks for all your work. We've had a lot of good exchange back.
Yes, we have. Thank you, Bill, for your support. Thank you for your support.
So I look forward to making this happen, and then we'll see what happens.
Yep.
The next steps. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that we have now the new driveway coming into the property and whatnot, and I'm wondering if there would be a way to plan during the demolition process to have the removal of the asbestos contaminated material through some kind of a temporary drive cut. For example, in the back of the property out to Craigville or something like that, just for consideration. So it's not being trucked in and out the main driveway for all the patrons.
Right.
You know there already is a drive out. Okay.
Yeah.
Sean, you want to look at that?
I'm not sure if it was decommissioned. That was the only.
You might add some money to do a paving job too.
Yeah.
And my comment, it's about time. All right.
Oh, sure.
Sure, we could certainly look into having a driveway. It makes sense. It's practical. You don't want to have construction vehicles mixing in with non-construction vehicles.
Yeah, right.
It's not good for either, right? But the excuse me, the item that we're going to have to do if we're going to come out and reactivate that driveway in Craigville is we're going to have to get the county DPW to go along with that and to provide a temporary permit for a driveway. So I don't think that would be an issue, particularly if there's been a driveway in the past. But it's just an extra permit we're going to have to obtain.
Right.
I see truck on it already. Perhaps from joint wreck.
I don't know.
I do.
Okay.
I've seen it.
Okay. All righty.
Will you take care of that, Sean?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's that one. Okay. Now we're going to go into finance. First one is discuss and approve a motion to authorize the supervisor to pay accounts payable check run for September 23rd, 2021 in the amount of $220,978.53. Would someone like to make a motion in that regard?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay.
Stay safe.
The next one is discuss and approve a motion to authorize the supervisor to pay workman's comp claims in the amount of $1,847.52.
So second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next one is discuss and approve a motion to authorize the supervisor to pay manual account payable check run on July 31st, 2021 in the amount of $36,765.73. Would someone like to make a motion in that regard?
So
okay. Just a second.
second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And lastly, discuss and approve a motion to authorize the supervisor to pay manual accounts payable check run on August 31st, 2021 in the amount of $17,251.41.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'd like now to open it up, privilege of the floor, if anybody's got something they would like to say. Bob?
This anticipation.
Bond anticipation note? Yes.
Is this just borrowing money and then paying it off in 5 years?
No, it's what you do. You have the freedom. You borrow the money, and if you have the money at the end of the first year to pay it all off, you can do it. If it takes you get 3 years, you can do it then. You renew it each year on the balances left.
Okay.
Okay.
So in order to get the funds to pay off this bond anticipation,
Right.
do taxes go up the first year?
Oh, yeah.
Do we know how much?
No. We haven't gone out for competitive bids yet. And our budget office is going to have to. Now, for 2022, it's already fixed. We know what the taxes are going to be there. The taxes, we'll borrow the money in 2022 and then start paying it off in 2023.
So we will have a tax increase of 1.3 million.
Well, no, yeah, that's whatever we got to pay, yeah.
I'm not trying to.
No, that's right. That's how it works. Correct.
It's only based upon the amount that we're going to budget for that year.
Right.
That's all the tax increase will be. Now, both the village and the town taxes have consistently gone down. I think the village is going to show a very large tax. But I won't weigh in on his parade, but our finances are in very good shape. Yeah.
I was just curious about, the money is not in we're going to borrow it, put it in there, pay it out, and then we'll
Tax
have to
accordingly.
pay back the,
Yeah.
when we take the notes from.
Right.
One of the good things about the A fund is we have more of a balance there today of all the funds. We got a better balance there. Not enough to pay all this off, but it will slow, it'll slow the.
You're gonna take a little each.
Well, I mean, we may take all of it the first year, get it down or whatever. You have to have a fund balance for security.
Right.
But yeah.
Do you think it'll be a noticeable increase? I mean, borrowing?
No.
That's good, because I'm happy with the tax or the downtown. I've always been happy with the way you guys finance.
Well,
there's other things we don't agree on.
Yeah.
But
well,
finance, I never have any problem.
Not you, Bob, you disagree with until I know.
And believe it or not, I disagree with my wife once in a while.
Well, I bet you I know who wins.
She ain't home like that.
Well, in the 14th of October, we're going to talk about the decrease in taxes both the village and town residents are going to have. And it's a big one. Yeah, so.
Can I say something?
But, okay, go ahead.
Okay. It seems like, Bob, you have in your mind that there's going to be a tax increase in 22 or 23 and so on and so forth. But depending on the revenues that come in, in fact, I can't predict the future, but I think there's a reasonable chance that you're going to continue to see a tax decrease through 26, 27 and stuff like that. That's what no guarantees, but I would be surprised if there was a tax rate increase because of this expenditure.
Say that once more, that last sentence.
He'll be surprised if there's a tax increase because of this expenditure.
All right.
So I shared with you, we have quite a bit of money in Fund A today, call it fund balance. That's a checking account.
Did you put that 800,000 plus amount in there? Last meeting, you mentioned you had an extra 800,000 something. Was that real estate?
Coming from the federal. Yeah, the stimulus from the federal government.
No, that we've got to figure out where that goes. Just like the village has got money like that.
Yeah. I was just wondering.
No,
but you also have the Legoland funds,
no,
which
we
could
don't.
be up to $1.2 million.
No, we don't.
Anyway, when I can go, I have something to say.
Okay, the Legoland money is Legoland money to go back to the citizens.
But it is going back to the citizens
as a tax decrease.
If it helps me.
Okay, what else you got here?
Okay.
Make it simple.
Oh, well, I'll not speak all of it, but at the last meeting, you related a story about finding one of your employees playing solitaire and also mentioned that this board, well, at least the majority, has gotten rid of a good many full-time employees, including this person, replacing them with part-time people who aren't eligible for benefits, doing this so you can save money. As someone who has managed people for decades on government contracts and for major corporations, working closely with HR and legal departments, this is no way to run a town. First off, the real person at fault regarding the employee who you caught playing solitaire is the person in charge who left games on these company machines. You basically invite your employees to play games by leaving them on your computers. There's no place for games on company computers. Hopefully you at least have a policy that your employees sign off of that strictly forbids the playing of games on company machines. If you don't, then you should hire an HR consultant to help you put one together. This way you won't have to worry about lawsuits. The second thing is you seem to be running the town like a fast food restaurant with all these part-time people just to save money. You have to think of the town as a real company, which basically it is. Part-time employees do not have the dedication or the drive or the vested interest of a full-time employee. A company's worth is measured by its employees, and part-timers only detract from that. Also, the open space bond that we got passed, and that was in 2004.
Well, can I answer those first ones?
I'll stop my clock.
Okay, because you normally we give 2 minutes and you're in like 6 minutes.
Oh, no, I wasn't at 10 minutes last meeting either.
Yeah.
You know, only 10 seconds.
What I'm going to say is that the county and the state of New York were looking for us to consolidate services. In fact, I wrote a letter to your son when he was the mayor. It said, Kyle, are you interested in consolidating a little to a lot? Okay. And So it was what we were doing in those days. And so John McCary, who was the head of the Orange County Real Tax Office, Real Property Tax Office, Doug, I can do it. I can do it with people for 19 hours a week, 3 of them, versus your 3 people doing it 40 hours a week. And he has. In fact, we got 2 of them up there now, not 3. Okay. So it was looked at and it's done. And these people are doing an incredible job.
You're talking part-timers.
Yes. I'm telling you, the people, they don't report to us. They report to the county.
Oh, I thought you had them throughout.
No, they report to the county
departments and other departments.
No, they report to Mr. Eric Rusher in the county.
Okay, I pull back on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Oh, the open space bond.
Okay.
Now you've been on the supervisor since 2004 at least, right?
6.
Because it was passed in 2004. No.
It was passed under Honey Bernstein.
No.
Yes, it was.
The second time. Got it. Okay. The open space bond that we got passed was about giving the town board approval to spend up to $5 million to purchase the development rights of property here in the town to help reduce future taxes, and by a considerable amount. It had nothing to do with matching funds by the county or the state. That was a bonus if you were quick enough to jump on that opportunity. I believe you've only spent 2.2 million of those funds. You never completed what the voters approved you to do. 5 million. It was 5 million. You mentioned the county matching funds.
Question here. They got authorization not to spend it, but to spend up to that amount. Okay. Now, what we did in 2014, we changed the zoning. Okay. First, we bought 4 farms.
And there's no other municipality in Orange County that bought that many farms. We are the leader.
That bought that
4
number of acres. Can we say number of acres too? Because hasn't Warwick done a much better job of this?
They have not.
No.
Well, anyway, let me say that. So what we did, the county said we don't have the money anymore, and they didn't. Okay. And by the way, we had a 25% tax increase in 2008 because we were broke.
Not because of this though.
Oh, yes, because of that too.
I remember you had it separate on the bill, and for most people it was $30.
Okay,
$30.
So anyway, what we did, we changed the zoning. And so now in any zone like Woodland Estates, there's say 200 acres there. They have to keep 100 acres of that open. And they build on the other 100 acres rather than us buying the 100 acres. And so it's working very well. Heritage Estates, ADC Maplewood, this one, and we've got, yeah.
Haven't you increased the density of houses though through that, how you've set that up?
Well, certainly.
So you're getting more houses, you're getting more children in schools, and you're getting
No, we're getting the same number of children in schools.
Wait, so you didn't allow them to increase the density of houses?
They increased the density as though they increased the density as though they were. You take all the houses you could build on it normally, the way it used to be, and then you build them on the half, but the same number of houses.
So the same number of houses.
Yes.
Then I'm okay with that.
Okay. Thank you very much. I like that.
Yeah.
See, now he rides a bicycle on a trail when I'm walking. I think he's going to run me over. I'm going to wave to you when you go back. Okay. Thank you.
I think that'll do it.
Okay.
I'll hold that.
You want something? You always something.
I have to say something in the defense of the board and myself. Talk about part-timers. I think we've all talked about this. I don't think there's another town in the state of New York that uses that more than an awful lot.
Yeah.
Employees have no co-pays, no deductibles. 100%. We pay 100% of their health insurance. And as I said, I don't know of any other place.
That's medicine.
Medicine,
doctors, the whole thing.
We've had, unfortunately, we've had at least one person that comes to mind now, but more, that the doctor's bills were well over $1 million, and they did not pay 1 cent for that. So I think you would find that the employees that are here, whether they're part-timers or whether they're full-timers, and a lot of them are full-timers. You know, it's not like we're just, as you said, running a fast food chain here. I mean, these people are very accomplished people.
Oh,
These people come to mind like
Doug mentioned saving a lot of money.
Like a treasurer. A treasurer
with 3 people.
A treasurer has multiple master's degrees. I mean, it's just unbelievable what is happening from the time I got on this board in 2006 to what is happening now. So I think you really have to look in a little bit deeper than, you know, calling us.
I went on what I heard.
Let me
saving a lot of money.
Well, let me
weigh in too.
We
only did it by attrition. We did not let anybody off.
But
We
still.
did not let anybody go. And what we did is any excess is where we didn't replace.
But you're saying just a few people
So
are part-time.
No, what we're saying is we ran this like a business, like a good business, not a losing money business. And that's why we're so successful and so financially sound. And your services have been increased in the town. I mean, there were $230,000 in the road budget, which is borrowed money. This year we put $1 million. How much? $1 million.
In the last 4 years,
yeah,
or 5 years, we spent $5.6 million on roads, and nobody in this county's got nicer roads than we got in the town.
I'm questioning that. I think you're doing a great job.
It's all part of it. As you can see, our hair in the back of our neck is going a little bit up because it's just not fair. It's not fair. We've done a good job running these.
I didn't say you weren't.
Oh,
I never said that.
Oh, okay.
No, I was talking about part-timers.
No,
you don't get the dedicated employees of part-time.
Well, you know what? We got a part-time chief of police. We pay him $55,000. You're not even the captain in the state police. He does an incredible job. Okay. Now, he uses part-time people in the police department. They're all retired state policemen, New York City police, and all this. They're experienced out the yin yang. And you know what? It's working very well for us, and they're happy.
They're happy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they have their benefits from their other jobs.
From their other jobs.
Yeah. So we don't have the health benefit. It's being picked up by another entity.
Do you have people still full-time?
Oh, yeah.
Where there's growth?
Oh, yeah.
They're young.
We just promoted 3 sergeants this year, full-time sergeants this year.
And we beg those people to go with MVP, no deductibles, no copays, and the police refuse to do it. But we beg them over and over again. What are you? What's wrong with you folks? You still are with the Empire Plan. So
anyway,
okay.
Can I anything new? No. But this is a good discussion. But anyway, would someone like to make a motion that we go into executive session with the intent not to return to discuss a couple of legal issues?
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Folks, thank you for coming.
And I'll take my leave. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for coming too. I mean,
No, thanks. I enjoyed the dialogue.
It's always good.
I enjoyed the dialogue.
Thank you, Bill.
Just wanted to shake your hand. Thanks so much.
Rick, do they need to close the meeting too?
The inspiration.
They just made a motion to go and take
Don't,
executive
Doug, I'm in
session.
trouble. Watch out.
Mutual
Doug? Yeah. With respect, I'm not sure what you want to discuss, but if it's purely legal issues, asking for my advice or discussing legal issues, you don't need to go into executive session. You just
well,
want to
that's got people's names associated.
But if you're seeking my advice, you
I don't want your advice. I'm just telling the board what the status of these is. Okay, you know what I mean? Like.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Stop, Doug. Sorry.
I was just trying to make it easier than going into executive session because you really need to. It's not any legal issue that you can go into executive session, and that's why I'm stating that. There's only certain litigation anticipated.